Today I'm reviewing 1954's Seven Samurai, the classic samurai film, obviously, from Akira Kurosawa. And it is one of those films that is so incredibly influential, but it's really hard to actually describe. It involves the plot is pretty basic. There are these farmers and these bandits come along and steal their food, and when they're leaving, they say something like we'll come back next year for more food. And then the farmers are like, well, we don't want to give them any food, and they have a discussion about what they're going to do. And one of them says we need to fight, and the other ones are like, you're crazy. But they talk about it and they talk about it, and finally they decide on a plan, which is to hire some samurai to defend the village. And they're like, we don't have any money. We basically just have food and alcohol, and that's the only thing we can give these samurai. So the first third of the movie is them going, the farmers going around in a big city looking for samurai. And eventually they find uh, a kind of veteran of many wars who's a samurai who decides he's going to help them because he believes in the purity of their cause. Like, he wants to protect the weak. And they gather this like collection of samurai or samurai adjacent characters, let's say, who are going to defend the village. And then they go to the village and they start to make preparations to defend the village. And some things happen. One thing that happens is that they discover that the farmers are kind of lying to them, that they have like armor from other defeated samurai, and they feel really offended. And this one character who's played by, I think his name is Mifune, who Akira Kurosawa used in many of his films, he says something like, he's crazy over the top, great actor, but like way over the top. He says something like, it's your fault that the farmers are like this because, you tax them, you steal from them, you do all of this stuff. So if they lie, if they cheat, they steal, it's because of you, ultimately. And so they're kind of like shamed, and they they fight for the villagers. And in the end, they defeat the bandits, but they have seven samurai, as the name suggests, and three samurai are left. One old guy who he's the leader, and he basically probably wants to die anyway, and kind of a non-entity samurai, and the youngest samurai. But he's also kind of jaded because he began a relationship with a village girl, but uh, due to the nature of Japanese society, he's like a higher social class, so they're not going to be together. And at the end of the battle, when everything is fine, he goes up to talk to her and she completely ignores him. So the end line of this is really great. It's basically like um, one of the samurai, and I forgot what his name is, and I will just check because he's such a great actor as well. Um, Takashi Shimura, Kanbei Shimada. So he says something like, "We lost," and the other samurai are like, "What do you mean we lost? We beat the bandits." And he's like, "No, no, we didn't win. They won." And he's pointing to the villagers who are happy because four of their friends died, and some villagers died as well. That's true. Like, you see like four graves of the samurai above, and then you see like 7 graves below, and there was only 20 villagers to begin with. So the victory came at quite a cost. So that's kind of like the plot of what happens in the movie. And the movie is not influential because of the plot, even though people have been referring to that kind of plot many, many times, from The Magnificent Seven to Star Wars to more recent movies. But the reason it's so good is that it is a slow movie, and yet it's really well paced. The movie is divided into like maybe 3 sections. So the first section is finding the samurai. The second section is like kind of the samurai learning about the village, and the last section is the attack of the bandits. And it does a really good job of introducing all of these different characters of the samurai, and you're like, oh, that's really, really quite, the characters are really quite interesting. And I think also from a cinematography perspective, it's also a really well shot movie. There are, like, when the bandits come in, they have these horses, and you can see through the gaps in the fences the legs of the horses, like you'd see if you were hiding behind the fence. So there's this bit where some of the film is sped up to make the action look a little bit faster. And I think in other hands it would look kind of ridiculous, kind of like the Keystone Cops, but in Kurosawa's hands it's like brilliant. So I can't believe that I've gone so long in my life without watching any Kurosawa films, because I did do one film appreciation course in university, but there was no Kurosawa on the curriculum, or if there was, I've forgotten it. And I was reading about it, and they were trying to describe like what why it's so important, and it's really hard to describe why this film is so influential. I've heard it said like, oh, it set the standard for blockbuster movies later. Maybe I read that, I didn't hear it said. And I don't think that that's quite true, actually. It's not like a blockbuster movie at all. It's more like a really slow burn of a movie, actually. Slow burn, so there's lots of character development, and then the action is really quick, right? So I would say in the entire movie, and the movie is 3 hours and 20 minutes, there's maybe like 10 to 15 minutes of action, and the rest is just character development and world building. So, yeah, it's just really, really hard to describe. And I think it influenced a lot of things that came later. Like I reviewed recently The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the Sergio Leone film. And that is also very long, but it's also really bad. The pacing is really, really off. And I can see what they were going for, what the Leone was going for now, kind of, but I still think that the pacing was really, really off. In Kurosawa, the pacing is like excellent. And 3 hours and 20 minutes, there's a intermission in the film, which there should be when a film is that long. I don't know. I definitely want to go and watch other Kurosawa films now. I made my own movie, actually, but I think that's the reaction that a lot of people have when they watch Kurosawa films. What do you think? Do you like this film? Have you seen it yet? Put your comments in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.